When someone dies from an act of gun violence, the whole world weeps. As one collective conscience, we go through the 5 stages of grief and mourn the loss in much the same way: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. There are no party lines when it comes to grieving the tragic loss of innocent lives. We all grieve, but nothing tears a piece of our soul out like children being the target of violence. Where we diverge on the issue is what to do about it to stop it from ever happening again. On one side, many express more utopian ideas that strive to remove guns from our country. The other takes a more pragmatic approach that strives to arm more people to defend against that violence. While we have very different approaches to the problem, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing: to stop it from ever happening again. Now, I grew up in the 80s, and I'm old enough to remember what going postal means. Between 1970 and 1997, more than 40 people were killed by current or former employees of the United States Post Office. During that time, there were some 20 incidents that all shared the same motive. They were retaliating against employees and supervisors of the United States Post Office. In 2009, I spent a great deal of time reading a little-known work by Stephen Musico, a PhD who worked in the Postal Service for 34 years. As an insider, he explained what happened in the Postal Service that ignited the violence that was so prevalent it remains a meme to this day. According to Dr. Musico, the USPS bought into a fresh new idea from some management guru called management unilateralism, which basically means a dictatorship. To behaviorists, this is punishing negative behavior instead of reinforcing positive behavior. While the USPS denied that hostile work environments contributed to these incidents, the Post Office took immediate action to change the culture inside the USPS to address workplace violence. Dr. Musico clearly stated in his book, Beyond Going Postal, that USPS work environments have been a trigger for some of its employee-directed homicides. If hostile workplace environments weren't a problem, why spend millions addressing a problem that doesn't exist? Regardless of the lack of candor from the USPS, they took action to fix the issue in the workplace, and what do you know? The violence stopped. If you've ever been in the back rooms at a post office, you immediately notice that they are windowless buildings made of concrete. They are very cold and depressing places. Add bosses who bully, threaten, and abuse employees, and you can see how the post office created a pressure cooker. Now, think about what most of today's schools look like. The same windowless concrete environments with the added stress of high fences, metal detectors, campus police, and authoritarians running the place. It's no wonder these kids snap. The only problem is, school districts do nothing but blame parents and guns. But the kids aren't generally shooting their parents. The fact that they are lashing out at the institutions generally means they are retaliating against the thing that pissed them off the most. At least the Postal Service did something about the problem. But until schools at least consider the possibility that they might be contributing to the hostile environment that drives these kids to go out like this, we will continue to have this kind of violence. When people say enough is enough and they blame parents and guns for the violence, they are taking up valuable time and resources getting down to the actual problem. Their unwillingness to accept any responsibility and continue to blame things outside the school for what happens inside the school will do nothing but ensure that school shootings won't be ending anytime soon. Now, my first instinct is to give our system of education the benefit of the doubt. They can't possibly realize what they have done to create an environment that is making kids snap. The post office was motivated by a need to increase production in an industry that was being threatened with irrelevance from private companies like FedEx and UPS. They also, at least internally, acknowledged their contribution to the problem and fixed it. What possible motives could schools have for allowing the violence to continue when there is a model that worked in the past to stop it? Unfortunately, I think that our government has stumbled onto a tool for achieving another objective, and they are just as content to let it burn. That objective is gun control, and they are using school shootings to manipulate the emotions of people who are most passionately motivated by their compassion for kids. We know who hurts the most from the violence, but the question we need to be asking is, who benefits the most from that violence?